As you guys saw at the end of the last episode, the cap crunch is about to get serious. It's not going to be a very easy offseason for us, and the team is going to change a lot. At this stage, think of the team as being in Blackhawks mode. Basically, we have our new core, and the pieces around it will change from season to season. We may even have to trade certain players aside from Demko to make this work, but we knew that eventually sacrifices would have to be made. Remember this about the draft as well. I'll only be showing the first round, despite some fantastic picks that we've had in the later rounds. As of late in those later rounds, the potentials of the prospects drafted tend to fluctuate quite a bit, and by the time the preseason rolls around, a top 6 guy may very well be a top 9 guy, a starter goalie can be a backup goalie, you just never know. So let's not waste any time, let's get down to business, let's move on to the draft. Our first trade, it is the Demko trade. We also send Rosehill, who is a low top 6 potential. I really don't see him panning out to be anything. We send those two to Detroit for their first and third round pick. Now when I said players other than Demko, I was mainly referring to Mata and Ekblad. However, after a bit of searching to try and find alternatives, I have decided to hold on to them for the time being, which might prove to be a mistake. But looking at the draft so far, as you get a look at the top 5, the Detroit pick was the 6th overall pick, and with that selection, we take Norm Ludwig, a low elite power forward. Now I'll show you this because once again we got pretty lucky. You see top 6 forward, top 4 defenseman being picked, a starter goalie, a top 9 forward, and then you get to us at the 16th overall selection. We take Fitzgerald, who is medium elite potential. The EA gods, they're so kind, aren't they? Our next selection, and yes, it's another one of those, top 6 Redmond, top 9 Gagnon, Mikkola, top 9 Jaspers, top 6, Gamache, low top 9, Kidd, low top 9. We take a goalie, Germain, medium elite potential. Somehow, some way, we just keep getting such a steady run of goalies. And obviously, we've traded the likes of Daniel Bergeron, Martins, as we just saw in Detroit, and we keep getting guys, Adam Warner in Columbus, and we keep getting more and more solid goalie prospects. And to end the first round, guys, let's take a look. It was Malkin to St. Louis, Rizzi, Peterson, Voros. We go to us at the 28th overall pick. We take the Swede Oman, or Oman? I'm going to call him Oman. Medium top 6 forward potential. New Jersey picks Heward, top 9. We take Dolan, a goalie. That gives us now 5 goalies in the organization, which is a nice number to have in case there is an injury. That way we can keep 2 signed goalies down in Utica at all times. He ends up being low elite potential. So needless to say, this has already been another great draft for us. But let's get you a look at the board now. That way you know the names to look out for. And now we get to move on to the fun. Oh, how fun it will be. The re-sign phase for this season. Now, I will say this before moving forward and talking about the re-sign phase. Obviously, portions of this video are from the live commentary, others are post-com, in an effort to keep this video under what it was originally going to be at about half an hour long. Now, I will go over every position, but I should say this. Our first 2 signings were Esa Hall and Laurent DeRocher, and that brought us down from $31 million in cap space, as you can see by the screenshot right now, to just over 16 mil. So that certainly speaks to the situation that we were in. Now looking at the goalies, we did end up qualifying Nyquist. I will not say who we re-signed. I will just say whether or not they were qualified as an RFA. We also signed Dolan and Germain to their entry-level contracts. Defensively, it was Plant and Corey being sent qualifying offers. Yul Levy and Pietrangelo were let go, as well as Oleg Yavenko, and I don't think I pointed it out. I ended up signing Yavenko and bringing back Lucas Spiza as depth players down in Utica. I just think I forgot to point it out at the time. Spiza is retired, and of course we let Yavenko go. And here, just a quick look at the ridiculous amount of defensemen we brought in the last draft. I will not say who we signed or who we didn't. You guys will get a look at that at the end of the episode once the roster is set. Forwards, and starting off with the right wings, Backlund and Doyle were qualified. Clark was let go. Left wings, Esa Hall was obviously re-signed straight up, as was Jonathan Drouin. Schneider was qualified. Sloan was qualified. Mercier was let go. And again, another quick look at the remaining players from the past draft. And looking at centers, DeRocher and Heinen were re-signed. Dryden was qualified. And again, another look at the remaining prospects. So again, unless I said somebody was cut, we re-signed every UFA and qualified every RFA just so that we could make it to free agency and further assess our cap situation, because entering free agency, after signing our UFAs, we were left with $3.2 million of cap space, with 8 players listed as restricted free agents. With that said, as we began free agency, we obviously had no room to go after anybody, as we still had our own issues to solve in an effort to keep this team as competitive as possible. So let's begin the long list of moves that we have had to make. Now, our first trade is another difficult one to make. It is former first overall pick Wade Savage to the Carolina Hurricanes for their first and third next year. Simply put, he's a second line guy, and we have more than enough second line guys. Look at this forward core. So right now, if the top line is Hall, DeRocher, Joensuu, we have Matthews, Heinen, Drouin as the second line. Guys like Hendry, guys like Snyder, who still have potential. We essentially have to choose right now. It's we can keep Hendry and Snyder, who are what, 21 and 22? Yeah, 21 and 22, both elite potential, or we can keep proven players like Drouin and Danton Heinen, both, 29 and 30, but they are proven players. Heinen's technically a first-line guy. I'm not opposed to playing him on the second. Same with Jonathan Drouin. That's the question. Do we go with the younger guys who are getting up there in terms of overall, but really didn't perform that well? Yes, they were on the third line and not playing with our best skill guys. It is a very tough decision. Who do we go with? Do we go with Hendry and Snyder, or do we go with Heinen and Drouin? And boys, we've made our choice. It is going to be Hendry and Snyder leaving the team. Again, it's very tough to go with the proven players over the youth. That could end up being even better, but we're still putting our team in a position to compete and to win. We send both of them, and of course remember Montreal has to sign Snyder. We send both of them to Montreal for their first and second round picks this year and next. This trade hurts a lot, but we give up Aaron Ekblad along with unsigned players that we just drafted who are low top 9 potential and probably won't pan out to the Washington Capitals for 3 first round picks. Now, of course, if I was asking for Ekblad, they'd demand 5 and probably wouldn't even take it. The game is cheap in that aspect. But Aaron Ekblad's gone. We free up nearly $7.7 million. He is a free agent after this year. So is another defenseman, which brings me to this. Olli Maatta, Commodore, who is low top 6D potential, to the Detroit Red Wings for 3 first round picks. Now, simply put, guys, with Ekblad and with Maatta, both are UFAs. At the end of the upcoming season, they're going to ask for probably $9+ million per season, and we simply cannot afford that. So I'm making the tough decision to get rid of them now so we can afford to not only sign some players, but so that we also don't lose them for free. It certainly hurts our chances to win the cup this upcoming season, but it had to be done, and now we have 6 first-round picks because of it. Now, because of those moves, we have $19 million to spend. Yes, we could have kept Snyder and Hendry, and probably I probably would have, to be honest. I probably would have if I knew I was going to make those moves. But again, I do think they probably would have been complaining throughout the majority of the season about the spot that they were in as far as being on the third line. And it just, let's be honest, using players like that, we just saw it in the last season. Using players like that so far, oh my God, Plant wants so much money. using players at a position like that, they don't get the point total you would expect someone with their attributes to get. So it's for the best. It really is for the best. And now, of course, we can sign these players. We can sign other players once we see the progression heading into the next season. It just works out. And again, it's not something I really wanted to do, but it's been done. And now I'm intrigued, really intrigued to see how this team ends up looking heading into this new season, because I genuinely don't know. It really hinders on the progression of so many of our players, and who knows, maybe Backlund, maybe Doyle will make a big step forward and be the type of guy that can replace Hendry, can replace Snyder on that third line. I did already send an offer to Nyquist before we made those trades. That's where I realized that those trades had to be made. And we do have a trade to make. First off, it's a 1-for-1 swap. It's Vasilevs to the Columbus Blue Jackets for a defender, Benda. It's the annual purge of players who I just don't think will make it. Greentree, of course, bottom 6. Comiskey and Trudeau both low, top 9. We send those 3 to Colorado for their first and third round picks this year. So quickly, before we end this episode, of course, I will give you guys a look at the team. First off, I'll give you a look at the amount of draft picks we have. And I'll say this. I think I am, well, really, I've never been less confident in the moves we've made. First off, the salary cap available. We are currently at 11.4 mil, which means, yes, we probably could have afforded Ekblad. We probably could have afforded to keep Olli Mata. It could have been handled better. I didn't see it panning out this way with us having that much cap left. Obviously, as you get a look at the picks, we have, 6 first-round picks this year. Just look at how many first-round picks we have coming up, multiple years. I mean, we made the most of it. You know, we have a shit ton of picks to work with, but there's no hiding it. You're going to see it in a second. Our team is weaker than it ever has been before. We still have a 98 offense, 93 defense, and 88 goaltending, and we do have now the pieces to make improvements if we need to, and that will be up to you guys. Let me know about where you think we should make improvements. Top line to start the season, though, it's Esa Hall, Laurent de Rocher, and Danton Heinen. I'm going to start him up there. Drouin, Matthews, and Esa Yoensu on the second line. 85 overall Doyle, who is now second line projected, along with Backlund and Jake Sloan. The fourth line is where it gets kind of weak. Ladislav Mihalik, or however the fuck you pronounce that, who we just signed as a free agent, is on the team. He is with Korolev and Ray McMillan, who I believe we also just signed. So 2 of our free agent signings are in, along with Dmitry Korolev. Defense, we established Chychrun is better as a second pairing guy, but this did make room for Derek Corey to get into the lineup, who is an 83 right now. Of course, we have some morale issues with all the moves. But Chychrun is with 96 overall Yasina, who, you know, this is now our second series with a 96 overall defenseman. Par Forsstrom and Pascal Plante are the second pairing. And, of course, Corey with Rudolph Benda, who we just acquired from the Columbus Blue Jackets. So you can see where my concern comes from, where we have, you know, a pretty weak third pairing that we could definitely improve. But the problem is, for example, the right-handed defenseman, we don't want to get anybody better than Plante. We want Plante on the second pairing. So we could go and try to find a good prospect. We could go and find a right-handed defenseman with an expiring contract and just put him down on the third pairing. Same with the left-hand side. Or we could, with this amount of money, go out and get a big-time left-handed defenseman to play with Yasina, which personally I think might be a good choice. I mean, because Par Forsstrom, I would like him to be a second pairing guy, but right now he's designated as a third pairing guy, so we could very well take advantage of that. Although before the season starts, that could change. It has in the past. So let me know. Do we keep Chychrun as our top pairing guy, or do we go out and get a big-time left-handed defenseman and put Forsstrom down on the third pairing? At the very least, do we get somebody better than Rudolph Benda on that right-hand side? We could even do the same thing on the left-hand side. We could get 2 guys with expiring contracts. Same thing really offensively. Of course, do we want to improve that fourth line, or do we want to go with guys who, they're two elite potential guys? I don't expect much out of McMillan because he's 24, but you never really know. And of course on the third line, Doyle, Backlund, and Sloan, all guys that we have drafted, all former first-round picks from the same draft, no less. Do we want to give them the proper amount of time on the third line? Goaltending, Mahalik is an 86 to start the season. Nyquist, of course, an 84 overall. In Utica, it's looking pretty good. I'm not really paying attention to the names because it's irrelevant, but we have 5 elite players in Utica at the moment, and nobody worse than top 9 forward potential. Defensively, it's looking okay. William Bales, who we drafted, has made the jump from top 4 to low elite. He is with William Gannon. Then we have Jim Reich with Kalle Nilsson. Timothy Doherty with Oleg Mogilny. The goaltender, of course, is Vesa Koivisto. He is with Christopher Germain. Now, reason is Dolan has actually fallen to low starter, so he has already started to decline, and that is, of course, why I don't show too many of the draft picks, because, yes, quite a few of these guys make it, but some guys do what happened to Dolan there, and they drop off before they ever make the roster. But guys, that is it for the episode. You see what the roster is. Again, perhaps the most unsure of my moves I have made so far in this series, but let me know what you think of the team thus far. Should we make improvements, or should we just start the season and see how it goes before making any improvements? But I am expecting a pretty strong season from both teams. As always, guys, if you have enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that like button. It helps out the channel, and of course, I would appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already, to continue following this series. Again, this could be our last season with the Vancouver Canucks. I'm not quite sure. I guess it really kind of depends on how the season goes. But once again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.